Psalm 23 carries a depth of reassurance that speaks to the very heart of human experience. No matter where you find yourself today, whether in times of joy or in the midst of trials, this psalm reminds us that we are never left to navigate life alone. God is not a distant observer. He is the shepherd who walks with you, guiding and protecting you through every moment of your life. When you read, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you are reminded that God provides everything you need, even when life seems scarce or uncertain. There may be seasons where the world feels like it's spinning out of control, where security and peace seem far off, but God's provision is steady and unchanging. He gives you more than just physical sustenance. He offers the spiritual nourishment your soul longs for. Rest in that promise, knowing that, no matter what you face, you lack nothing because the shepherd sees every need before it arises. The quiet waters and green pastures symbolize God's peace. These are the places He leads you to when life feels chaotic. When your mind is restless and your heart feels heavy, He invites you into His presence to find rest. In the stillness, you can hear His voice, and in the calm, you can feel His love. Trust that He is leading you beside still waters, even when the world around you feels like a storm. Allow Him to refresh your soul, restoring your strength and renewing your spirit. Even when the path ahead looks treacherous and fear starts to creep in, Psalm 23 reminds us, "Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." It's not that we are promised a life without valleys, but we are promised that God walks with us through them. No shadow, no fear, no darkness can overshadow the light of His presence. In every valley, He is there, His rod and His staff guiding you through the uncertainty. Fear loses its power when we know the shepherd is beside us, protecting us from every danger. God doesn't just guide you through the valleys. He prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies. This is a powerful image of God's victory and provision even when life seems threatening. Imagine sitting at a banquet, surrounded by your troubles, yet you are at peace, eating in abundance, because God is your provider. He anoints your head with oil, marking you as His chosen one, setting you apart for His purpose. Your cup runs over, not because of your efforts, but because of His endless grace and favor. This is the kind of peace and blessing that only comes from walking in trust with the shepherd. As you move through life, with its joys and its hardships, Psalm 23 assures you that goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. God's goodness is not something you have to chase. It follows you. His mercy is not dependent on your perfection. It's a gift that pursues you even when you fall short. Wherever you go, His love surrounds you, His grace goes before you, and His goodness follows behind. You are enveloped in the care of the Almighty, and nothing can separate you from that love. You may find yourself dwelling on past mistakes or regrets, but this psalm encourages you to let go of those burdens. The shepherd leads you not just to green pastures, but into a life of freedom from the past. The future may seem uncertain, but you can rest assured that the shepherd's guidance is perfect. His plan for you is filled with hope and promise, and even when you can't see the whole picture, you can trust that He is leading you exactly where you need to be. The final promise, "I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever," is a reminder that your true home is with God. This life is full of temporary trials, but your ultimate destination is a place of eternal peace, joy, and love. You are invited to dwell in his presence, not just for a moment, but for all eternity. No matter what life throws at you, the shepherd will guide you home to a place of rest in his eternal embrace. So today, as you reflect on the words of Psalm 23, know that the shepherd is with you. He knows your struggles, he sees your fears, and he walks with you through every valley. His love never wavers, and his guidance never falters. You are never alone, for the shepherd is always leading you toward green pastures, still waters, and ultimately, his eternal home. Rest in his care, and let his goodness and mercy fill your heart with peace. As you continue to meditate on Psalm 23, feel the profound peace that comes from knowing the shepherd is intimately involved in every aspect of your life. The psalm begins with such confidence. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This isn't just a statement of provision, but one of deep trust. You are under his care, and his attention to your needs is constant. Whatever you may be lacking in this moment, whether it's peace, comfort, strength, or clarity, he promises to meet that need. Trust that God's provision goes beyond the material. It touches your soul, offering the comfort and reassurance you crave. Think of the shepherd leading you to green pastures and still waters. These places are not just about physical rest, but about spiritual renewal. Life often pulls you in many directions, leaving you weary and drained. Yet here, God offers you a place to be restored. His presence is the stillness amidst the noise of life. When you feel overwhelmed, remember that he gently calls you to rest in him. He is the peace that quiets your soul, the stillness that brings clarity to your heart. In his presence, you find the strength to carry on. Even though life takes us through dark valleys, Psalm 23 assures you that you never walk these paths alone. The valley of the shadow of death can represent many things: fear, loss, uncertainty. But it's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the shepherd is there, guiding you through. You don't need to fear evil because his rod and staff are your constant protection. These symbols of his authority and care are what keep you safe. The valley may seem long, and the shadows may feel heavy, but his light never dims. He leads you, step by step, out of the darkness into his light. One of the most beautiful images in Psalm 23 is the table prepared for you in the presence of your enemies. Imagine that, a banquet set before you, even as adversities surround you. God does not simply remove your challenges. He elevates you in the midst of them. The table is a symbol of abundance, a reminder that you are his beloved. He anoints your head with oil, a sign of honor and blessing. Your cup overflows with the richness of his grace. This isn't just a momentary reprieve, but a reminder of his constant provision, even in the face of trials. As you walk through life, goodness and mercy follow you. These are not passive ideas, but active forces in your life. Wherever you go, God's goodness and mercy are right behind you, ensuring that even in your missteps, his grace covers you. When you feel discouraged or lost, remind yourself that his mercy is never far behind. You are never outside the reach of his goodness. Every day of your life is touched by his kindness and love, whether you realize it or not. Trust that his mercy will carry you through whatever challenges lie ahead. The promise of dwelling in the house of the Lord forever is not just about the future, but also about the present. You are invited to live in the presence of God every day, to dwell in His house, not as a guest but as His beloved child. This is your eternal home, now and forever. There is no place where you are closer to God than when you are resting in His love. In this relationship, you find not just safety, but purpose. He walks with you, guides you, and shelters you under His wings. If today you feel like the path is unclear or the journey is too difficult, remember this: the Shepherd is with you. He knows the way, and He is guiding your every step. You don't have to know the whole path. Just trust the one who does. His rod and staff will lead you through the valleys. His peace will restore your soul, and His goodness will follow you all the days of your life. Take heart in the knowledge that you are held in the loving care of the Shepherd, and that nothing can separate you from His love. You are never alone. He is always near, guiding, protecting, and leading you toward His abundant life. As you immerse yourself deeper into Psalm 23, let it become a living truth in your heart. The words, "The Lord is my shepherd," are not just a comforting thought. They are a declaration of trust and belonging. You are not wandering through life aimlessly, and you are not abandoned in your struggles. You belong to the Shepherd, and His eyes are always upon you. He knows you by name, and He calls you His own. No matter how far you may stray, His love is relentless in its pursuit to bring you back into His fold. The Shepherd doesn't just provide for your needs. He provides abundantly. The green pastures and still waters are symbols of God's desire to give you rest, peace, and refreshment. He leads you to places where your soul can find refuge, where your weary heart can be revived. These moments of peace are essential because life's challenges can often wear you down, leaving you drained and discouraged. But God, in His great love, knows exactly what you need. When you feel tired, He brings rest. When you feel broken, He brings healing. He doesn't leave you to struggle alone. He gently guides you to the places where your spirit can be restored. In this world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by fear. The valley of the shadow of death can feel all too real. Perhaps you are walking through a difficult season right now, a time of loss, uncertainty, or hardship. The darkness can feel suffocating, and the path forward may seem unclear. But here, Psalm 23 speaks directly to your heart. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. God's presence is your assurance. You are not walking through the valley alone, and the shadows are not stronger than His light. His rod and His staff are there to comfort and protect you, reminding you that He is always in control, even when life feels out of control. When God prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies, He is showing you that nothing can stand in the way of His blessings. Even in the face of opposition, God is working on your behalf. He is not merely getting you through difficult times. He is blessing you abundantly in the midst of them. This image of a banquet in the presence of enemies is a powerful reminder that God's provision and protection are not dependent on your circumstances. Your enemies may surround you, but they cannot defeat you because God's hand is upon you. He anoints you, declaring you His chosen, and your cup overflows with His grace. What a beautiful picture of His favor, even when life is hard. As you continue to walk with the Shepherd, you begin to understand the significance of His goodness and mercy following you. It's not just that you are accompanied by these blessings. They actively pursue you. God's goodness seeks you out. His mercy chases after you. In every season of life, whether in joy or sorrow, you are surrounded by His love. You may sometimes feel distant from God, but His goodness and mercy never leave your side. Even in moments of failure, His mercy covers you. Even when the road is rough, His goodness sustains you. These blessings are not temporary. They are with you all the days of your life. The Psalm's closing promise, "I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever," is not simply about the afterlife. It's an invitation to live in God's presence every day. You are invited to dwell with Him, to make His presence your home. This is where true peace is found, in the awareness that you are never separated from Him. He has prepared a place for you, not only in heaven but in your daily life. You are always welcome in His presence, where you are cherished and loved beyond measure. No matter what challenges you face, remember that the Shepherd is always near. He is leading you, guiding you, and protecting you. You don't need to have all the answers, and you don't need to carry the weight of life's burdens on your own. The Shepherd is with you, offering His strength where you feel weak and His peace where you feel troubled. Rest in the knowledge that you are in His care, and trust that His goodness will carry you through every season of life. Let Psalm 23 be a song in your heart, a reminder that you are not just surviving, but thriving under the care of the Shepherd. He leads you to green pastures, refreshes your soul, walks with you through every valley, and blesses you abundantly. His goodness and mercy will follow you, always. And no matter where life takes you, you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is His promise, and He is faithful to fulfill it. You are loved, you are seen, and you are never alone. As you reflect further on Psalm 23, let its comforting truth continue to settle deeply in your heart. This psalm reminds you that God's care is not distant or conditional. His love and guidance are intimate and ever-present. When David declares, "The Lord is my shepherd," he's speaking from a place of personal experience and trust. Just as a shepherd knows each sheep individually, so too does God know you. Every step you take, every challenge you face, He is with you, leading you toward life in its fullness. There are moments in life when it feels like you're walking through a spiritual wilderness, longing for guidance, but not sure where to find it. In those times, remember that the Shepherd knows exactly where to lead you. He is the one who provides green pastures when your spirit feels parched and still waters when you need peace. The world can be chaotic, filled with noise and distractions that make it hard to hear God's voice. But just as a shepherd guides his flock to calm places, God is leading you to moments of stillness, where your soul can be restored. In His presence, you will find rest, even when everything around you feels overwhelming. Even though life's path may take you through valleys of uncertainty and fear, God's presence is your constant. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Notice the phrase "walk through." You are not meant to stay in the valley forever. It may feel dark now, but God is walking with you, guiding you through it, step by step. His rod and staff are not only symbols of correction and protection, they are reminders that He has authority over every danger you face. You are held firmly in His hands, and no evil can harm you when the Shepherd is your protector. Perhaps one of the most profound images in this psalm is the table prepared for you in the presence of your enemies. Life may present challenges, and there may be times when it feels like opposition surrounds you. Yet, in those moments, God prepares a feast of blessing right in front of your adversities. He anoints your head with oil, a sign of honor and blessing, and your cup overflows. This overflowing cup is a picture of abundance, not scarcity. Even when it feels like the world is pressing in on you, God's provision is more than enough. He is not a God of lack, but a God of fullness, who delights in blessing his children abundantly. Goodness and mercy, what powerful companions to have in this life. Not only does God go before you as the shepherd, but his goodness and mercy also follow behind you, ensuring that you are never without his care. No matter where you go, no matter what mistakes you make, his mercy is always there to catch you, and his goodness continues to pursue you. These are not fleeting gifts. They follow you all the days of your life. Think about that. Every single day of your life is covered by God's goodness and mercy. When you're at your lowest, his mercy lifts you up. When you feel unworthy, his goodness reminds you of your value in his eyes. The psalm closes with a powerful promise. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This isn't just a future hope. It's a present reality. You are invited to dwell in God's presence, not only when things are going well, but every day of your life. In his house, you are not a visitor, you are home. His love is your dwelling place, a place where you are always welcome, always cherished. No matter how far you feel you've strayed, his arms are open, ready to embrace you. You belong in his presence, and there is no fear, no condemnation there. Only love, peace, and eternal security. If today you are feeling burdened by the weight of life's demands, take heart. The shepherd sees you. He knows your needs before you even ask. He knows when you are weary, and he gently leads you to rest. He knows when you are afraid, and he walks with you through the darkness. He knows when you feel surrounded by enemies, and he prepares a banquet of blessing for you in their midst. His goodness and mercy are not just concepts. They are your constant companions. And his promise to you is not temporary. It is eternal. You will dwell with him forever. Let the words of Psalm 23 be your prayer today. Speak them over your life, over your circumstances, and let them remind you that you are never alone. God, your shepherd, is guiding you, providing for you, and protecting you. He is leading you to a place of peace and rest, even in the midst of life's storms. His love is unwavering, his provision is unending, and his presence is eternal. Rest in this truth and know that you are deeply loved, cared for, and held in the arms of the Good Shepherd. As you dwell even further on the powerful message of Psalm 23, allow its words to not only comfort but transform the way you view your journey. Life, in all its unpredictability, is a series of moments, some filled with joy, others marked by struggle. Yet, in every moment, God remains constant as the shepherd of your soul. This is not just a passive role he plays in your life. The shepherd is active, involved, and intimately aware of your every need, your every fear, and your every desire. When David says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures," he speaks of a God who understands the need for rest and renewal. We often push ourselves, believing we must keep moving, striving, and achieving. But the shepherd knows when it's time for you to pause, to rest, to be refreshed. These green pastures are not simply physical rest. They represent a deep spiritual rejuvenation. In a world that demands more and more of you, God invites you to find peace in His presence. He offers a quiet space where you can reconnect with Him, where your soul can be restored, and where you can breathe deeply, knowing that He holds everything in His hands. In the same way, God leads you beside still waters, a place where you can experience His calming peace. There may be storms raging around you, but within, He offers you tranquility. The still waters represent a quieting of your soul, a moment where all the chaos subsides, and all you hear is the gentle whisper of God's love. He knows that in order to keep moving forward, you need moments where you can rest and drink deeply from His peace. These are the moments where you are reminded of His nearness, His presence that never leaves you, even when everything around you feels uncertain. The path of righteousness that God leads you on is one of purpose. Every step you take is guided by His wisdom and His desire for your well-being. It is not a random journey, nor are the challenges you face without meaning. He leads you for His name's sake, which means your life, your walk, is a reflection of His goodness and His glory. When you trust Him to lead, you are not only walking toward a good future, but you are also walking in alignment with His divine will. Even when the road seems winding or unclear, you can trust that He is guiding you exactly where you need to be. Each step is part of His greater plan for your life. And yes, there are valleys. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. This verse acknowledges that there are dark times, valleys filled with uncertainty, pain, and fear. But even in these moments, you are not abandoned. The shepherd is there, walking beside you, His presence a constant source of comfort and courage. You may not understand why you are in the valley, but you can rest in the knowledge that you are not walking through it alone. His rod and His staff are symbols of His authority and His protection, reminding you that no matter how dark it gets, He is in control, and He will see you through to the other side. Even in the presence of your enemies, those trials and struggles that seem to rise against you, God prepares a table for you. This is an image of abundance, of God's provision in the midst of adversity. He not only sustains you, but blesses you beyond measure. Your enemies, whether they be fears, doubts, or external challenges, may be present, but they do not have the power to take away the feast that God has prepared for you. You are His beloved, and He anoints your head with oil, marking you as His own. Your cup overflows with His grace, love, and favor, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. This is a promise that goes beyond mere optimism. It is a divine assurance. God's goodness and mercy are not fleeting gifts. They are a constant reality. They follow you not just when you are at your best, but even when you stumble. His mercy covers you when you make mistakes, and His goodness provides for you when you feel unworthy. These twin blessings are with you every day of your life, offering you grace for your shortcomings and hope for your future. Finally, the promise that you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever is a profound statement of your eternal belonging. This life is filled with temporary things, temporary successes, temporary struggles, but your home with God is forever. This is not just a future hope for eternity in heaven, but a present reality. You are invited to dwell in His presence now, to live every day in the awareness that you belong to Him. His house is your home, and in that home, there is peace, joy, and the security of knowing you are loved beyond measure. So, as you reflect on Psalm 23, let its words settle into the deepest parts of your heart. Know that the shepherd sees you, knows you, and cares for you in ways beyond your understanding. He leads you to places of rest. He walks with you through the valleys, and he prepares abundant blessings for you. His goodness and mercy are your constant companions, and his promise of eternal life is secure. No matter what you face today or in the days ahead, you can trust that the shepherd is with you, guiding you, protecting you, and loving you every step of the way. You are never alone, and you are always in his care. Psalm 23 continues to reveal the depth of God's love, care, and guidance in ways that speak directly to the core of our human experience. Each line is filled with a promise, a reminder that in every season of life, the shepherd is with you, leading, protecting, and loving you with a devotion that never wavers. This psalm is not only a comfort for difficult times, but a guide for living a life of trust, surrender, and peace. When David begins with, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," he is expressing a profound truth. With God as your shepherd, you lack nothing essential. This is a statement of trust, not in the absence of challenges, but in the certainty of God's provision through those challenges. There are times when you may feel empty or in need, but the shepherd knows your needs before you do. He fills your cup, meets your desires, and gives you the strength and peace to keep moving forward. Even when it seems like everything around you is falling apart, God is holding you together. In a world that often values constant productivity and relentless pursuit, the shepherd says, "Come, lie down in green pastures." These pastures are places of rest for your soul. God knows that your heart, mind, and body need time to pause, to recharge, and to find stillness. This rest is not an invitation to laziness, but a call to trust in the rhythm of God's care. He doesn't ask you to do everything on your own. He leads you to places where your soul can breathe, where your spirit can be renewed in the calm of his presence. Let yourself rest in his care, trusting that he is working even when you are still. The still waters in this psalm are not just a physical image. They represent the peace that God offers in the midst of chaos. When the world around you is tumultuous, when anxiety creeps in, and when fear seems overwhelming, the shepherd leads you to still waters, a place of peace and calm. It is here that you can reflect, pray, and feel his presence in a way that quiets the noise of the world. The peace he offers is not dependent on circumstances. It comes from his deep and unshakable love for you. It is in this quiet, reflective space that you are reminded that he is always near. God's path of righteousness is not one that is always easy, but it is always good. He leads you in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. These paths, while sometimes narrow and difficult, are the way to life, peace, and fulfillment. You may face decisions that feel overwhelming, not knowing which way to turn, but the shepherd knows the right path for you. When you trust him to lead, you will walk in the way that brings you closer to his heart and deeper into your purpose. His way is the way of righteousness, not for your glory, but for his. As you walk this path, you reflect his love, mercy, and grace to the world around you. As you journey through life, there will inevitably be valleys, times of darkness, grief, and uncertainty. The valley of the shadow of death, can feel like a place of overwhelming fear. But even here, God is with you. You may feel afraid, but you do not have to be ruled by fear. His presence, His rod and staff are your comfort. These symbols remind you that God is not just walking beside you. He is actively defending and protecting you. In those dark valleys, where hope seems distant, His presence is your light. He is the shepherd who will never leave you or forsake you, even when you can't see the way forward. One of the most powerful promises in this psalm is the image of God preparing a table before you in the presence of your enemies. This table represents abundance, provision, and honor. Even when enemies surround you, whether those enemies are fear, doubt, or external challenges, God is there, blessing you openly. He anoints your head with oil, marking you as His chosen one, and your cup overflows. This is a promise that God's provision is not just enough, it is more than enough. Even in the midst of struggle, He blesses you richly, showing that His love and care for you go beyond what you can imagine. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. These words are a reminder that you are never outside the reach of God's goodness and mercy. They follow you, not passively but actively, pursuing you with grace and love. Even when you wander, even when you make mistakes, His mercy is there to lift you up, and His goodness is there to guide you back. These are not conditional gifts. They are with you for all the days of your life. No matter what happens, His goodness and mercy are constant, unchanging companions. Finally, the psalm concludes with the promise of eternal security. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is not just a future hope, but a present reality. You are invited to live in God's presence every day of your life. His house is your true home, where you are welcomed, loved, and secure. There is no safer place than dwelling with the Lord, and there is no greater joy than knowing that this home is eternal. Even as you navigate the challenges of life, this promise remains: a place where you will always belong, a place where God's love will always sustain you. As you meditate on Psalm 23, let these truths sink deeply into your heart. The shepherd is guiding you, even when the way is unclear. He is providing for you even when resources seem scarce. He is protecting you, even when the valleys feel dark. His goodness and mercy are following you every step of the way, and He has prepared a place for you not just for the future, but for right now. Trust in His care, rest in His love, and know that in every season of life, the shepherd is with you, leading you home. You are never alone, for His love surrounds you always. Psalm 23 is not just a collection of comforting words. It is a living expression of God's deep, unwavering commitment to care for you, to guide you, and to walk beside you throughout all the seasons of your life. Each phrase reveals more about the shepherd's heart and His intentions for you as His beloved. This psalm invites you to enter into a relationship of complete trust, knowing that the shepherd never fails in His care or His promises. The Lord is my shepherd. These simple words hold an incredible depth of meaning. They remind you that you are not aimlessly navigating life on your own. You belong to the shepherd who knows every detail about you. Your fears, your joys, your weaknesses, and your strengths. The shepherd doesn't just guide from a distance. He is intimately involved in your journey, providing exactly what you need, even before you know to ask. To say, "The Lord is my shepherd," is to declare that you are seen, loved, and valued beyond measure. When you read that He makes me lie down in green pastures, think about the gentleness and care involved in this image. Sheep do not rest unless they feel safe, and so it is with you. God knows when you are weary, when you have been striving, and when your spirit needs refreshment. He doesn't force you to keep going when you are on empty. Instead, He provides a place of rest, green pastures where your soul can be restored. These moments of rest are not a luxury. They are a necessity. The shepherd knows that for you to continue on your journey, you must take time to be renewed in His presence. It's in these moments of stillness that you can hear His voice most clearly, feel His peace, and regain the strength to move forward. The still waters are a beautiful image of peace. In a world that can feel turbulent and overwhelming, God offers you stillness. This is more than just physical rest. It is a peace that goes beyond circumstances. These still waters represent a place where your soul can find calm in the midst of life's storms. You may be surrounded by challenges, but the shepherd leads you to a place where His peace quiets your fears and refreshes your spirit. This peace is His gift to you, and He invites you to drink deeply from it. When the psalm says, "He restores my soul," it's a reminder that God doesn't just meet your physical needs. He cares for your soul. There are times when life takes a toll on your heart, leaving you feeling broken, discouraged, or drained. But the shepherd is in the business of restoration. He knows how to heal the wounds that no one else sees. He knows how to restore joy where there has been sorrow, and strength where there has been weakness. His restoration is complete, renewing not just your body but your very soul, giving you the resilience to keep moving forward. As you walk the path that God has laid before you, He leads you in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. These paths are the way of life, the way of goodness, and the way of purpose. God is not leading you aimlessly. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. When you follow His lead, you are walking in the way of righteousness, living out the destiny He has prepared for you. And it's not for your glory, but for His. Your life, guided by His hand, becomes a reflection of His goodness and grace to the world around you. Even when the path seems unclear, trust that the shepherd knows the way. Yet, even as you walk the paths of righteousness, there will be valleys, dark and difficult times that seem to stretch on with no end in sight. The valley of the shadow of death can represent many things: fear, grief, uncertainty, or any trial that feels overwhelming. But in this valley, the shepherd is closer than ever. "I will fear no evil, for you are with me." These words are a powerful declaration that, no matter how dark the valley, you are never walking through it alone. God's presence is your comfort, His rod and staff your protection. The shepherd walks with you, guiding your steps, defending you from harm, and giving you the courage to keep going, even when the valley feels endless. In a world where enemies, whether they are fears, doubts, or real opposition, may rise against you, God prepares a table for you in their presence. This table is a place of abundance and blessing, a feast prepared by the shepherd Himself. Even in the midst of your struggles, God's provision overflows. He anoints your head with oil, a sign of honor and blessing, and your cup runs over. This isn't just about having enough. It's about having more than enough. God's blessings are not limited by your circumstances. Even when it feels like you are surrounded by challenges, His goodness is still pouring into your life. The assurance that goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life is a promise that God's care for you is not just for today, but for every day of your life. His goodness is the favor He shows you, His mercy the grace that forgives and sustains you. These are not passive gifts. They actively pursue you, following you wherever you go. Whether you are in the green pastures or the dark valleys, His goodness and mercy are always present, surrounding you with His love and care. You are never outside the reach of His mercy, never beyond the touch of His goodness. Finally, the psalm closes with the most comforting promise of all. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is not just a future hope for eternity, but a present reality. You are invited to dwell in God's presence every day of your life. His house is a place of safety, belonging, and eternal love. You don't have to wait until heaven to experience the joy of being with Him. You can dwell in His presence now. In His house, there is peace beyond understanding, joy that sustains you through trials, and love that never fails. This is your true home, the place where you are fully known and fully loved. So, as you continue to reflect on Psalm 23, remember that the Shepherd is with you in every season. He knows your needs, He provides for your soul, and He leads you in the way of life. Whether you are resting in green pastures or walking through dark valleys, His presence is your constant companion. His goodness and mercy follow you every step of the way, and His love invites you to dwell in His presence forever. You are never alone, never forgotten, and never outside the care of the Shepherd, who loves you deeply and eternally. Psalm 23 holds a unique and profound message that echoes deeply in the heart. As you continue to reflect on it, let the words become a foundation of peace and strength in your life. Each verse of this psalm reminds you of God's unwavering presence, His constant care, and His boundless love for you. No matter what season you are in, whether a time of joy, uncertainty, or sorrow, the Shepherd is walking with you, guiding you toward His divine purpose and peace. The Lord is my shepherd is not just a statement of faith, but a declaration of relationship. God is not distant or indifferent. He is intimately involved in every detail of your life. As your shepherd, He watches over you with compassion, protecting you from harm and leading you toward abundance. This relationship is personal and deeply rooted in love. You are known by God, not as one among many, but as His beloved child. He calls you by name, knowing your strengths, your struggles, and your innermost desires. To say, "The Lord is my shepherd," is to acknowledge that you are never alone, for He is always beside you. He makes me lie down in green pastures. This image is one of peace and provision. Green pastures symbolize a place of rest, a place where you can lay down your burdens and find restoration for your soul. There is a rhythm to life that the shepherd understands. He knows when you need to move forward and when you need to rest. Often we push ourselves to keep going, even when we are exhausted, but the shepherd invites you to stop and rest in His presence. In these green pastures, He provides for you, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. He invites you to take a breath, to trust in His provision, and to allow His peace to renew you. The still waters are another powerful image of God's peace. Life can feel like a storm, with waves of stress, worry, and fear threatening to overwhelm you. Yet, the shepherd leads you beside still waters, offering a place of calm and tranquility in the midst of chaos. This peace is not something you have to earn. It is a gift freely given by God. He knows when your heart is troubled, and He draws you into His presence, where you can experience His peace that surpasses all understanding. In these moments of stillness, you can hear His voice more clearly, feel His love more deeply, and rest in the knowledge that He is in control. He restores my soul. Restoration is at the heart of God's care for you. The world often leaves you feeling drained, wounded, or discouraged, but God is always at work to restore what has been lost or broken. His restoration is not superficial, it is deep and complete. He heals the wounds of your heart, replenishes your strength, and renews your spirit. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, He fills you with His grace and peace, reminding you that He is your source of life. His restoration is a constant, ongoing process, as He continually works to bring you into the fullness of His love and purpose. As you walk through life, God leads you in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. These paths are not always easy, but they are good. The shepherd knows the way even when you do not. His guidance is not based on what the world deems right, but on His perfect knowledge of what is best for you. He leads you in righteousness, not only for your benefit but to reflect His glory. As you walk in His ways, you become a living testimony to His love and faithfulness. Trusting Him to guide your steps means surrendering your own plans and allowing Him to lead you into the purpose He has for you. His paths are filled with peace, even when the journey seems difficult. Even in the darkest moments, when you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you do not have to fear. This valley represents the trials and uncertainties of life, the moments when hope seems distant and fear looms large. But the shepherd is with you. His presence is your comfort and strength. The valley may be dark, but it is not without light. God's rod and staff are symbols of His protection and guidance, ensuring that no harm will overtake you. The shadow may be there, but it is just that, a shadow cannot consume you, because the shepherd is walking beside you, carrying you through. God does not simply get you through the valley. He blesses you in the midst of it. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is a beautiful image of God's provision and blessing, even when you are surrounded by challenges. In the very presence of what threatens you, God lavishes His blessings upon you. He anoints your head with oil, marking you as His chosen, and your cup overflows with His abundance. This table represents God's goodness, His favor, and His desire to bless you, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. He is not a God of scarcity, but a God of abundance, and He is more than able to provide for you, even in the most difficult seasons. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. This is not a conditional promise, it is a certainty. God's goodness and mercy are with you always, pursuing you even when you feel unworthy or lost. His mercy covers your mistakes, and His goodness ensures that every moment of your life is held in His care. These are not passive blessings. They actively pursue you, following you every step of the way. Whether you are in green pastures or walking through the valley, God's goodness and mercy are right behind you, sustaining you, forgiving you, and drawing you closer to His heart. Finally, the psalm concludes with the ultimate promise: I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is not just a promise for eternity. It is an invitation for today. You are welcome in God's presence, not just as a visitor, but as His beloved child. His house is a place of safety, peace, and joy, and you are invited to dwell there, not just for a moment, but for all time. To dwell in the house of the Lord means to live in constant awareness of His presence, to find your home in His love. This is your eternal security, the knowledge that, no matter what happens in this life, you are held in His embrace, both now and forever. As you continue to reflect on Psalm 23, let its truth wash over you. The shepherd is with you, leading you, providing for you, and protecting you. His love for you is unchanging. His care for you is constant, and His presence is your eternal home. No matter where life takes you, no matter how deep the valleys or how high the mountains, the shepherd is by your side, guiding you with His loving hand. You are never alone, never without hope, for you are always in the care of the Good Shepherd, who loves you beyond measure.